Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined in the studio by Mr. Cody Herman. He's the owner of Day One Outdoors, Day One Outdoors Guide Service. We're talking Yakima bait, plugs now, and diver and bait. Hopefully that helps you out. We do have a call with a question for Cody here in just a minute, but I want to pick up where we left off. First things first, when we get a shot of some of these plugs he's got here, I mean, they're just shredded. I already told him this earlier, that if I ever found a plug like this on the river, the first thing I'm doing is cleaning it up, and I'm tying it on, because that is a fish catcher, but those are retired. You're like, I got lots of these things. I can catch them on all of them.
These are toys.
Okay.
For us fishermen. Move on to the next one.
All right,
I've played enough of that toy.
Okay.
I'll let you keep those ones. That's fine. You can take those.
3.0s, man.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that I wouldn't have expected that. I would say that most people out there are running the 3.5s just because of what they can do, right?
Correct.
They'll hold their depth, they'll get down quicker, but that's not what you're focusing on. Why do you like the 3s maybe a little bit more than the 3.5s? And when would you go from the 3 to the 3.5?
So I like running the 3s most of the time because I seem to do better in low clear water with plugs.
Okay.
And so the 3.5s have a higher speed tolerance. They get down deeper. Most of the time when I'm running plugs, I'm in 4 to 6 feet of water, if not less. And so if I'm running a 3.5, they're digging so hard that they really don't get that skip beat action that they're built for.
Because they're banging the bottom too much.
It's just digging. It almost works like a diver anymore.
Okay.
So it's not getting enough love.
Gotcha.
So if you run a little bit smaller profile, then these are great. But when I get into faster current, and that's sometimes at 2 to 4 foot of water, these will blow out. And what I mean by that, they start going off to left to right. No matter how well you tune them, they'll skip out left to right, and then they're not hunting, and you're wasting time.
What do you do then?
Go back to a 3.5.
Okay.
So if in situations where it's shallow water, but there's so much current, you can go back to a 3.5, and because there's so much current, depth is relevant at that point.
Gotcha.
And you're going to get plenty of action out of them because they're digging so hard, but they're still going to flare out and just get right back in and start grinding.
Let's back it up a little bit. So you got the 3.0 out there.
Yep.
You're fishing in that 5, 6 foot of water, good current for the 3.5. What's holding on to it? Are you running braid? Are long lining? You got a diver in front of it? What do you like to do?
So when I run my plug setup, I'm running 3 rods because it's me and 2 customers.
Sure.
And sometimes 3 customers. Even when I have 3 customers in the boat, and in some systems you can even have a 2-rod endorsement.
Sure.
I never run more than 3 rods because if I can't catch them with 3, I'm not going to catch them with 4 or 5.
Gotcha. And it's more of a mess.
It just gets in the way, right? So what I try and do is every hole is different. What I'm trying to do is get a reaction. Most of the time I'm running on my 3-point spread, 2 plugs left and right, and then coon shrimp down the middle. And the reason why is because when I come up on these fish, the water's clear enough, they can feel all the vibration, they know what's going on. I run a lot of bright colors, even on the coon shrimp rig. They know that it's there. And if they don't like that coon shrimp rig, I got it out about 5 more feet plus the center rod holder, so it's about 10 feet behind everything else.
Gotcha.
So that is my first presentation that the fish will see as I'm sliding back on them, is a more subtle presentation with that coon shrimp. If they don't like that, they're going to slide left or right around it, and then they run into my Megalith 3.0s or 3.5s.
And that drives them nuts, and you might entice a bite.
Hopefully.
Right.
I mean, these fish, guys always say you push them to the back of the hole and you get a reaction bite back there.
Sure.
That's not the case.
Sure.
They're either there or they're not. If they don't want to bite, they can easily swim around it. You had Herzog in here yesterday.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, you pinch them into a corner and then they have to get that fight or flight reaction. Well, Herzog's favorite statement is that steelhead aren't very tall. So they don't need much water to scoot around all of our gear that's pushing them.
And they can slide over and just laugh at your gear pretty easy and slip right back.
I got an 8-foot rod this way and another one out this way, so I got about 10 feet in between my 2 rigs. Guess what? They'll swim right between it.
Yeah.
So you try and get that reaction, so that's why I run coon shrimp down the middle, plugs left and right, because if they don't like this one, hopefully this is enough to get a reaction out of them.
Gotcha.
But in some cases, in some holes where they're sitting behind a certain rock, underneath a ledge, in one little bucket, I'll go to a 3.5, and even if it is slower current and shallower water, because what I'm trying to do is just make them feel like they're trapped. And I'm really, even though I'm fishing 3 rods, I'm really only fishing 2. I'll get them right next to each other as close as I can and just shove it in their face where they feel like they can't go anywhere, and then that's when you get that reaction.
And a lot of that falls down to how you're controlling the boat. I mean,
exactly.
Quite honestly, everyone, it's all about the person on the sticks. If you are back trolling anything, you're not doing nothing. You're a glorified rod holder. You're just keeping the seats warm. And she has to keep those baits where the fish are going to be, you could easily get yourself off, on the outside of a seam on the wrong side where there are no steelhead, but you go 2 boat widths over and okay, now you're where the fish are. So it's a lot of it, not all, but a lot of it's about boat control. Any advice that you can share on keeping that boat in the zone where the fish actually are?
That's kind of a tough one. It comes down to experience and time on the water. Like I can pull into every single hole on the rivers that I fish, the Sandy and the Clack, those are 2 rivers I fish. I can pull into any single one of those holes and say, that rod's gonna get bit.
Right.
Don't even worry about middle rod, left rod, it's the right rod that's gonna get bit.
Right.
Guys are like, oh, well, sure it won't happen. No. And it's experience, I know where they are, I know where they lay, and I can only get one line in there, and that's where boat control comes in.
Sure.
Because I get the gear in there, and then I gotta stay on the sticks and keep it there as long as I possibly can until that fish reacts.
And in that tank of a boat that you got, you can't keep it in one. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Don't kid.
I'll race you, we'll see.
I was gonna say, I hear it all the time. Oh my God, that thing's gotta be so hard to row. Why do you think they're, no, okay. So boat control is a big deal.
Huge,
so let's just say that for viewers that are out there, because none of them are gonna have as much experience as you do on an individual spot, individual rock. Let's say you go to a new river. What are you looking for when you're talking about running plugs? You got your set of 3 out there, and you're coming down to a spot. Do you like to get to the spot, then deploy your gear? Do you like to deploy it early? What do you like to do to try to figure out how to control a boat and then get those baits where they need to be if you're just kind of new to the spot?
Get your gear in as early as you can. So that way you know that everything's out there working properly, because it does take time to get all 3 rods out. I usually run my rods 50 and 55, and so 50 left and right, 55 down the middle.
That was one of my questions for you.
And I know guys that run 30 and 35, and it drives me crazy, especially in low clear water. I know guys that run 80 feet out.
Right.
But it's about boat control, right? So I figured right there in that 50 to 60, I can control the lines. If you have too much line out, you can't swing your gear into spots. If it's too short, I feel like I'm pushing the fish around with the boat and the oars.
Yeah.
So I like to get my lines in as quickly as I can, way above the spot I actually want to fish, make sure everything's good, nothing's tangled up. But conversely, if you get it out too early, you're in super shallow water because you're up there in that step.
Sure.
And you could get the gear tangled up and snagged on the bottom.
Okay.
So it's finding that balance.
You got to find the right zone. Okay.
But I want to get in there as early as I can. Now, as far as where to fish in the hole, that depends on water level. So if it's high water, they're going to be inside seams. I've caught them up in the trees, in the bushes, in the reeds, back trolling. In low clear water, they're looking for dark bottoms, choppy water, looking for places where they can hide.
Gotcha.
So as the river changes, that's going to push the fish inside and out.
Gotcha. So that'll help you target what specific spots that you want to try to get those baits presented in.
Right, exactly, yep.
When you're back trolling, do you like to hold your baits in one spot on the sticks, meaning keeping your boat in one spot, or are you progressively, evenly working your way down? How do you like to control that speed as you're working your way downriver?
Well, these fish bite a bobber and a bead, right?
Absolutely.
And that's moving at the speed of the current.
It's flying.
Right? So if it's a river that I'm not familiar with, an area that I don't know where they're laying, if it's a hole that I'm not too confident in, I'll fish fast.
Gotcha.
Because it's just a matter of finding fish. And what I always tell my customers every day is that we're going to hit a spot somewhere in this float where we're going to catch one fish, and I'm going to slow way down. But until then, we're going to fish fast until we find that group of fish. Then we're going to slow down, settle down, and hit the hole 2-3 times.
Gotcha.
So for the most part, I'm back trolling pretty fast, slipping down the current pretty fast until I get a bite. Once I get a bite, I'll go back to the top of the hole if I can, slow down, figure out where they're laying, and then the next 2-3 holes down, fish pretty slow.
Gotcha.
But until I get that first bite, that first fish, man,
You're just covering ground.
Yep. Just get them down. Okay, they're close enough to the bottom. That's good enough. Just keep going. Gotcha. And then until the rod folds over, now we can start actually paying attention, fishing hard.
Sure. Great advice, because I know that there's a lot of folks, and myself included, when I get on the sticks, I start to find myself
You spend too much time,
just sitting in one spot, just trying to even work harder to make sure my gear stays in that one spot. Well, no, it makes more sense.
No, if the water's high, if it's high water and the fish are moving, perfect. Slow down on those hard corners where the fish are tucking in tight. That makes sense to sit there and hold as long as you can. But if it's normal water levels, ideal steelhead green or low water, fish fast.
Gotcha.
Go as fast as you can to keep your gear close to the bottom and just move, move, move until you get a bite and then slow down.
Gotcha. Makes good sense. Pay attention, everyone. If you spend time in a drift boat, there are ways that you can be more effective just by operating the boat correctly, staying on the sticks and working that. Understanding, of course, that you got good bait out there, everything is running like it's supposed to. But if you start to master the skill of, and it's certainly a skill of controlling a drift boat. I've been doing it all my life, and I am by no means a master. It's just one of those things, you'll get the feel for it, and then it gets addictive. It really does. My buddy Moose, one of the best out there. The guy's a magician with sticks in his hand, and it makes the difference between having, you know, a 2 or 3 fish day as opposed to a 6, 8, 10 fish day if you can get everything presented the right way. So I mean, it's a thing for sure. But I got more questions about plugs. Okay.
Yep.
I know that looking at the plugs that he's got here, these 3.0s, there's not a single stock hook on there. Nope. And I get it, but I want to find out what he switches that out to in those 3.0s. And Mike from Salem has a question. So when we come back from this break, we're going to take Mike's call immediately. So don't go anywhere. We got more with Cody Herman in just a couple of minutes.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective. And by North American Metals Incorporated, first choice for all your metal roofing and siding needs.